Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on why is inbound marketing so important and how does it impact revenue. Let me do a couple of quick introductions and we'll dive right in. So my name is Rick Leach. I am the Director of Content Operations at Crowd Content. Our platform provides quality written content at scale to thousands of businesses ranging from small companies all the way up to enterprise. And joining me is Jeremy Corman, the head of product marketing at Inc. Jeremy is joining us today from Belgium, where it is approximately 8 o'clock at night right now. So we appreciate you staying up to share these insights with us.
Thanks for having me, Rick.
So today we're going to talk about inbound marketing, what it is, how it differs from content marketing, and how you can scale your inbound marketing to increase revenue. That's pretty much what we're all here for. Jeremy's going to kick it off in just a minute with his presentation. Following that, I've got a little bit of information I'd love to share with you, and then we'll save some time for Q&A. If you have any questions that you come up with during the presentation, on your toolbar, you'll see a Q&A button. Just go ahead and click that, type out your question and send it in. If we can get to it during the presentation, we'll absolutely do that. If not, we'll just save it for the end and make sure that we address it. You'll also see next to the left of that button is a chat button. That's where you can talk amongst yourselves. Anything you type in there is visible to everyone else. With that, we'll go ahead and kick it off. I will let Jeremy take over with his deck. Jeremy?
Yes, thank you very much, Rick, for the introduction. I'm going to share my screen and just please confirm that you can see my screen in a minute. There you go. Can you? Yes, awesome. All right, so how to improve inbound marketing to increase revenue? Let's start with what inbound marketing is not. Let's start with that, right? Sometimes it helps to understand what a thing is by just telling what it is not. And marketing is about sending to the right person, the right message at the right time. But as you can see on this picture, this little illustration, you obviously send here a message to a person at the wrong time. So this is basically what makes the difference between what we call inbound marketing and outbound marketing. Outbound marketing is, to me, a lot harder to target the right time because it's actually difficult, right? While inbound marketing is actually attracting people to you and they come to you when they decide. So one of the differences, yes, it's much easier to get people at the right time because inbound marketing is about having the permission, right? You are not interrupting your target, your audience by sending message they haven't asked for. So inbound marketing, one of the main differences is that let's look at the definition of inbound marketing. So when we're talking about inbound marketing, we are of course thinking, or at least some of us thinking about HubSpot, because HubSpot made a lot of inbound marketing and they brought even a definition of it. So inbound marketing is a business methodology that attracts customers by creating valuable content and experiences tailored to them, while outbound marketing interrupts your audience, the illustration we just saw, with content they don't always want. Inbound marketing forms a connection they are looking for and solve problem they already have. So this is what inbound marketing is about. Now you have many ways to execute this. Let's take some examples, if you would. So let's look at this graph. On the horizontal axis, you will have the mindset of the prospect. If you go on the left-hand side, you will see that the prospect is aware and active. And if you go on the right-hand side, your prospect is unaware of the problem that he has. While on the vertical axis, you have two things, whether you have a complex product or a very simple product. Now, let's look at the different opportunities that you have as a business owner or as a marketeer or an entrepreneur or whatever. Let's look at all the opportunities as in the content perspective that you have. Look, for instance, if you say, okay, the prospect is aware and active, is aware of the problem and is really proactively looking for a solution, well, SEO marketing is a great option for you. You can do that. This is pretty straightforward. You can do SEO for that because the people is going to look for your product or services in search engine. Now, if your product, for instance, is more complex, you need to talk about data, analytics, scientific stuff, then you need to spend more time explaining what it is about, right? So in that case, maybe doing a podcast is a good thing, right? Or sharing more insightful reports with what we call lead magnets. So in exchange of making a report, you will ask for some details, right? So this is what we call by lead magnet. You could also say the prospect is not really aware of the problem that he has. Then you are going to be more interruptive in that case sometimes and doing more outbound marketing tactics by going with cold email or LinkedIn outreach, right? So if you go more on the right-hand side of the graph, you will find more outbound marketing tactics, while if you go to the left-hand side, you will see more inbound marketing tactics. So these are all the possibilities. You could answer a question on Quora. Maybe some people are asking questions around your what you're doing, your expertise. You could do guest blogging, content marketing. You could do many things. Webinar, for example, this is a great example. Doing webinar, right? So you have a lot of things. Don't try to do everything at once, of course. Try to pick what you are best at. Try to pick one thing and do that very well, because you will be overwhelmed if you're trying to do everything at once. Try to find one channel, what type of content that works really well in your area. Try to understand where your customer is. Pick a content that match that channel and go deep into it. Okay, I'll give you some of the example I did over the last 10 years. Like really personal example. But first, let me picture you how I see inbound marketing. So I see inbound marketing by having really two things. First, you need to bring value. And I see inbound marketing like you would be the owner of a gold mine, for instance. You are the owner of a gold mine, so the story starts really well for you. That's good. You have that, right? And then you could say, well, I'm going to also have shovels and buckets to offer. These could be considered as your products. So you have gold, which is the content that you're going to create in your inbound marketing strategy, and you have your product. Or you can reverse, you know, it's an illustration, it's an image, doesn't really matter, but I'll keep it this way. The content that you create, the value that you produce is going to be represented as a gold mine, and your products by shovels and buckets. Now, in 2010, I was working as a marketing manager for a very small startup. I was the first employee. They were just two co-founders, and they had an idea. They wanted to be the eBay for professional equipment, professional used equipment. Like I was selling cranes, used trucks, garbage trucks, even sometimes, used cars, used tools, used, I don't know what is it. I was like selling stuff I didn't know even exists, right? I was discovering a lot of stuff. It was not sexy though. It was really like industrial equipment. And it was a lot of fun because we were like, 2010, it's a kind of a blue ocean at that time in terms of inbound marketing. We were not really talking about inbound marketing. That was not even a real term. Maybe a little bit. It just started, right? So at this time, what was already valuable is just to do great product description. It's funny, but there was an audience at that time, and still today, that was just looking for documentation around these machines. For some reason, I do not remember all the reason they were looking for product description, but it helped us a lot because every time we had to sell those things, we were just attaching all the information that we had around that machine in different PDFs, meta description, different format of text to be indexed by Google. So already having that attached to a product was providing value, which is weird, right? But it was already providing value to people, and this is how simply we started ranking in search engines. And of course, our shovels and buckets that we were selling were the used equipment that we were selling in auction, right? So first experience, really easy as long as you were doing like providing what people were asking for. And they were just asking for product description. Some of them were also interested to buy the product. So that was great. Second experience I did was in 2016 when I started my career as a freelancer, okay? And I realized that it was 4 years that the business model canvas was out, and a lot of people were talking about that business model canvas. All the startups were using Post-it to start brainstorming around the new social network or the new business or the new big thing, whatever. And so it was a thing, but that poster didn't exist for the marketer. Of course, the marketing can use the business model canvas, but there was no similar thing in the marketing area. So I started building my own canvas, first for myself, and then I shared it online, and it started to attract a lot of people from different areas, from different countries. So this poster is actually free. Everyone can download it. It has been translated in 12 languages. A lot of those languages were organically translated by the community. So it was kind of a thing. And 1 to 2% of the visitors started contacting me for some consulting services. So the gold mine was the digital marketing canvas, poster, and the shovel and buckets in this case was my services. That's it. And then another type of inbound marketing strategy was to build a community. And I started in 2010 by co-founding what I call the café numérique. It's a French term to say just like digital coffee, right? Café numérique was started in Brussels in Belgium, where I live. I live in Liège. We also have a café numérique here, but basically these are events that we are organizing everywhere to talk about technologies. And it could be in a cafe, it could be at a cafe, it could be in a university, in a company, in a co-working space. We were organizing that everywhere in one city. And then other cities started to organize their own café numérique. And we got a global community at the end in all continents, in Africa, in many countries there, because the French community is strong there as well. So it started in Africa, and then also in Asia, Kathmandu, India, and then in the US as well. So we had one chapter in New York. So yeah, you can see my proud face there where I was in Kathmandu. It was pretty crazy. Having a chapter in New York was crazy for me, but like probably the craziest thing is to have a community in Nepal, for instance, right? So it was kind of, wow. We started, to be honest, this community has started with like 4 or 5 person in a cafe, and we were just meeting together to talk about new technologies and new stuff that we were interested in. And then some other people started to join around that, right? Anyway, it was kind of a thing where we were providing value, human connections, knowledge, and fun, because the main difference was the fact that it was really casual and really Belgian style, I would say. So Goldmine was the free events, they were free. The knowledge and the human connection and the product was more like the shovel, my services as well, by the way. I had a lot of clients through this community. All right, and my most recent experience in inbound marketing is with Inc. actually, where we are offering more than 50 tools, where more than 50 AI tools, where everybody can actually use and go and grab the tools that they need based on the objective thing you're looking for. For instance, you need to write an engaging post for social media. It could be Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. You are trying to write a new blog post, an outline. You're trying to make sure that your sentence is right. You're trying to convince a prospect to buy your product or service. You can use all these tools. They are great, and you can use them for free to a certain amount every day. All right, so the gold mine is all these free tools, and then we have the paid services that you can use as well. Now, what are the best tactics you can use in inbound marketing? Well, I can't say that there is one particular tactic. What I can tell you is that if you want to have an impact on your business, you need to think about those 3 steps. You need to really think about how to get found, how to engage, and how to convert with the audience. Because sometimes we tend to be, attached to one particular thing in this exercise. That could be like, for instance, I want to get traffic, right? But if you don't do anything with that traffic, if you don't have the buckets and shovels, then you're not going to convert. You're not going to make a sustainable marketing tactic. The tactics that I showed you, well, they are all still lasting, except for Café Numérique, because COVID came and it frees everything. But apart from that, all the tactics that I showed you, they are still working and producing revenue at this time. So get found, engage, convert. We are going to talk about all these 3 steps with different example right now. All right, so where do we start? Good question. There are many things to do. Marketing could be at some point very complicated, but the most simplest way you could start with is by just thinking about the problem to solve. Just brainstorm, like, okay, this is your customer. They do have problems that are related to your service or your product. Try to think about, okay, what is my product or service solving as a problem? What problem that it solves? Start with that and combine it with something very simple as autocomplete. I'm not talking about any fancy tool that you could have out there. There are many great tools that you could use, but really you can do a lot with just using autocomplete, right? Autocomplete is often the most popular term that are being shown on your screen, but pay attention to the fact that they are also related to your IP address, so your location. So try to keep that in mind, but it's still a good start. Start with your area, the type of thing your customers are looking for. Try to brainstorm around that, try different phrases, try different keywords, and try to list all these questions, all these requests that people are doing on search engine, because when they are on the search engine, they are trying to solve a problem. They are coming to you, they are trying to find you. Just be there. Okay. So start small and explain your topic really simply. I'm pretty proud of this drawing. So explain your topic simply, answer the question, but make sure that you cover everything in that topic. And there, I cannot more recommend ink that will highlight for you the keyword that you need to use, more than the keyword, the topic that you need to use, because it's not about the topic, it's not only about the keyword, sorry, but the topic you need to cover. And sometimes you don't have to talk about the topic too much, and ink is going to adjust. You don't want to cover a topic too much, not too low. You need to find the right balance, and you will have those recommendations as you start writing your topic, your article. Leverage emotion. So I showed you how to get found. This is really easy. Just find the right terms, the right keywords, the right problem to solve. Start writing, cover the whole topics. Start small, but cover the whole topic, and then start engaging. This is probably one of the best way I found to show why engagement is important. On the left-hand side, you have an AI generated avatar made by Synthesia. For those who know, you can easily do that. You just pick your avatar, you upload your text, and boom, you have a video, and you can do that at scale. That's great. And on the right-hand side, I have spent a few hours recording a video where I tell a story. Those two videos are around the same topic, but they are delivered totally differently. On the left-hand side, you have the AI, and on the right-hand side, you have me. The AI is beating me at explaining a topic the most, how do you say that? The most straightforward way. Like the AI is really just relating the information, just giving you the right information in the most simplest way. It's not fun, but you have the information. On the right-hand side, I'm trying to tell a story. So there is some emotions, there is some sort of creativity. You will spend more time on my video, but it's going to be more engaging. So I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying that on one hand, you could say this is the definition, and on the other hand, you could say this is the definition, but I'll tell you a story instead. And you can see like on the screen that people are more clicking on the video on the right hand side because it's more related to the topic, like it's the definition. They try to find information, but on the right hand side, I'm kind of better at keeping people's attention because I'm telling a story. So the engagement is 40%, 45% on the right-hand side on my video, and on the right-hand side, it's 37%, right? But people are more clicking on that video. You see, the graph is like, boom, dropping, and on the right-hand side, the graph is more like steady. Like once people, start watching, let's say the 10 first seconds, they tend to stay until the end. While on the other side, it's not the case. So I'm just explaining this because leveraging emotion helps you to engage with your audience, okay? To try to keep them longer on your article, on your page, or whatever. And it's important for Google as well. So I'll tell you different angles that you can also engage with your audience. One way to do that is by trying to encourage their dreams. Like try to encourage the dream of your audience. We pretty much, I guess, all have dreams, right? We want this and that. Try to talk to them with their dream. Try to play on different emotion. I put into bracket 2 emotion, greed and vanity. I'll tell you why in a second. But first thing you can do is encouraging their dreams. So I started with the architect example. Let's say you are an architect, you're trying to sell your services online, you have a website, you have a blog. You could say, hey, how to build your dream house after a teardown, or 4 ways you can afford an architect. You can encourage people's dream to say, hey, your dream is there, go grab it. And then you could also justify their failure, right? 3 secrets of successful home edition that everyone misses, or 4 questions about home edition you are too afraid to ask. These things are just made for saying to people, it's okay. You know, everyone is making mistakes at some point. That's okay. And it's, you know, when your brain, when you see something like that, you tend to, hey, I kind of want to see what's behind. It sounds interesting. It caught my attention. Allay their fear. Designing a modern home, avoid these 5 architectural design mistakes. Or bathroom remodeling, 6 pitfalls that you need to avoid. You know, we all have fears. You can play on that as well. Of course, you can try to address them. It's important. It's another way. Also, you can confirm the suspicions. You can start building trust with that. You can say mistake to avoid when working with an architect. Yeah, it start building trust, and then defend them against their enemies. Permitting war stories. You are also playing on fear here, but try to defend them against their enemy. So encourage their dream, justify the failure, alert their fears, confirm the suspicions, defend them against their enemies. Okay, these are different angles that can help you. Sorry, I have some work happening. Yeah, it's my neighbor. I'm sorry. I don't know if you have noise canceling. I hope you have. All right, it just stopped. That's fine. Okay, so the good thing is you can leverage emotion by using a software like Ink, where it will tell you, well, this is your title. You have a good or bad title, and based on that, you can just improve it by playing on certain emotion. And these are not random emotion. These are emotion that are related with your audience. Okay, so because how Ink actually know that? Because you have mentioned a keyword, like for instance on this screen, it's a little bit small. How to build your dream house. These are the keywords there, and then you have different emotions. Based on that, it will tell you, you should use this or that word because it's going to trigger greed, or it's going to trigger trust, or it's going to trigger curiosity. Okay, if you get the clicks, it means that you are going to get the visits, and Google will understand that you're attracting people like that. I'm going to show you a very short video that is actually showing you what I've just explained. So you have different emotions with different words below those emotions. Here we go. Budget, control, fixed, final. These are more related to greed. And then, for instance, if you are adapting your title based on these recommendations, then you will see that you had a B right there, B, emotional intelligence, and it's going to say, hey, B+, it's better. Okay, keep going. All right. So this is just an example. Yeah, I love this. I don't know if you guys know Age of Empires, but this was my ever favorite game on PC. I started playing this game. I was like 5 years old or something. It was, I don't know. I remember very well because most of my friends did not like this game a lot. I was the only one playing with it, hours and hours and hours. And for those who don't know this game, you have actually to develop a civilization from an handful of hunter-gatherers to an empire. So basically, you need to start collecting resources, develop a population, and start exploring new land from there. So now you're going to ask me, okay, what's the common point between the game Age of Empires and inbound marketing? Well, in both areas, you are noticing beginners by the tendency to do everything at once. For instance, they try to be everywhere on the map and conquer everything while you just have to start protecting your plot, right? Before exploring or conquering others lands. It will make you weak and vulnerable if you are actually trying to explore right away and try to get new lands right away, right? You need to defend your first plot, right? Well, it's pretty the same with inbound marketing, especially SEO. So I rename it by Age of Clusters. And unfortunately, most beginners in SEO start like this. They're trying to do this, one article about this or one article about that, and then I'll pick another topic there, and they are pretty weak pretty much everywhere. But the thing is, Google is actually seeing the web as cluster connected to each other. And based on each cluster, you will have subtopics, subtopics, and so forth. And in each topic, Google will try to pick the best one and list all these topics, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. So you have to really try to make Google understand that you're good on one topic, and then once you're good on the topic that is closely related, you can try to be better at the next one. Let me explain you with the Age of Clusters. So this is what you shouldn't do. Instead, this is what you should do. So you should pick one topic and say, okay, I'm going to pick one topic where there is low competition, high volume, and a topic that I'm interested in, and I'm going to write the best content I can around that topic. I'm going to follow the basic SEO rules around that, and I'm going to start ranking on that niche topic. And then I'm going to pick another topic that is really related to that first topic, right? And then another topic that is related to that. And then I'm going to try to conquer the overarching topic, okay? And once I successfully done that, then I can start doing the same with other topics that are in that cluster until I kind of covered all the clusters. Okay, and I'll tease you around something that is coming pretty soon. At Inc. is actually what we call the content planner. You have just to drop your keywords list into the interface, and then Inc. is going to provide you the list of cluster you should write about. So basically, you have your content plan ready based on what I've just told you, the Age of Clusters. You play that game by just following, the different topics you need to cover. You drop your keywords list, you get back a list where all the keywords have been grouped into different clusters, so you know what are the clusters, and from there you can pick one cluster and go deep on that clusters. Just some teasing there. which lead me to the technology part of this presentation. So often I end up this kind of webinar with question around the technologies. Well, one of the question is like, okay, now we have artificial intelligence everywhere. How should we adapt to that? Well, my answer is always the same. Why were typewriters invented? The reason why typewriters were invented is because the speed. It just increased speed. A competent keyboard user can exceed 100 words per minute on a regular basis. So it just increased production, okay? And then it increased your audience because your typewriter fonts are readable. You have to remember at that time, right? Not everyone had a writing that was readable, and then all of a sudden with the typewriting machine, more things were legible, right? Then the recognition, because you can use different fonts, and then the authenticity, because it was more difficult to erase or counterfeit without manifest discovery. And then the PC came in, same thing. The speed increased, your audience increased as well, your recognition, your authenticity increased as well. Internet came in, you increase speed, increase your audience, the recognition, your authenticity as well. The benefits are always the same. I could explain to you why these benefits are still the same. But for instance, recognition, because you can use more templates and tools to make sure that your brand is uniform and differentiate you from the competition. Your authenticity, because everything you share on the internet is here to stay, right? So these are always the same benefit. And then we are now having artificial intelligence everywhere that produce content. Well, it increases the speed, it increases the audience, the recognition, and the authenticity as well. So where are we today? We are talking about artificial intelligence, that's right. But if we take the inbound marketing industry, I would say that now we are more into a different movement. And this is the movement that we call natural language optimization. Basically, it leverages artificial intelligence, but in a way that makes you even more fast. You increase your audience more, the recognition and the authenticity, because it plays on your content. It takes your ideas, your content, and then it combines it with your audience intent, the communication channels that you use, for instance, search engine, and then it use also the content from your competitors. So it tried to, the NLO, the natural language optimization, try to understand all these four things, to actually come up with the best content for your brand, for your content, for your audience insight, for your communication channel, and to differentiate yourself from the competition. This is what we call NLO. So to recap this very quickly, strategy: get found, engage, and convert. Don't think only about engaging or only about getting found. Think about the full funnel if you want to have an impact. Think about the problem your product solves and use autocomplete to find topic. Start small, right? Explain your topic simply, but cover the whole topic. Covering the whole topic is really important for your authority. And leverage emotions. I showed you a couple of ways to do that. You can use a different device or use the product that we use. Play age of clusters, really start thinking strategically. Cover one cluster and then the next one and the next one and the next one related to that cluster. And finally, the technology is changing, but everything is different. Back to you, Rick. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeremy. And I got to say, I think you missed your call as an artist. I think you've got something there. And I can relate to your age of clusters. Like, I'm pretty sure I could have earned a degree with the amount of time I've put into Sid Meier's Civilization, Forge of Empires, and a few other city building games.
You know what? If you know, by when I was designing this presentation, I was like, okay, I should totally re-download the game and start replaying that game. If you do, let
I
me know.
still play one. I still play one. It's called Top War right now. It's, I don't know how long I'm going to stick with it, but they are kind of my decompression every night after work. Like, this is how I quiet the brain down, get back focused. I'm out of work, and then, you know, hang out with my lovely wife.
Awesome.
But thank you so much for that information, Jeremy. That was really great stuff. Before we get to the questions, I'm going to take you guys through just a few things to kind of build off of what Jeremy was talking about. One of the things he mentioned is to, you know, stick with what you do well. So I'm going to kind of relate this to written content, because that's what we do well. Oh, I'm still on the first slide. Let's go ahead and move over. So real quick, because Jeremy did a good job talking about what inbound marketing is, I just want to clear up any confusion that anyone has, but like, what's inbound marketing and what's content marketing, and how do they differ? And they do differ. A lot of people think they're synonymous, but they're really two different things. You know, inbound marketing is that higher level plan. It's getting the right content in front of the right people when they want it. I know usually when you hear that, it's at the right time, but I think that can be a little confusing, because the right time for who? Is it the right time for me, for my business, or is it the right time for my customer? It's when they want it. It's the big picture. It's a blueprint. Whereas content marketing focuses just on that right content part. It supports your inbound marketing plan. It's that creation of the different types of content that will satisfy your audience's need. This kind of covers the same thing. It's just more of an illustration that inbound marketing is that high level plan, and content marketing are the little breadcrumbs. So in this illustration, you'll see this really oversimplifies your inbound marketing plan, but all those little dashes, the different paths, this is your content marketing plan. This is developing the content that gets apples to your people who want apples, and oranges to your people who want oranges, and steaks to those who want steaks, rather than trying to force upon them what you want. You want them to buy the steaks right now, but if they're not here for that, that's not what you should be feeding them. So yeah, that's really it. That kind of, for me, sums up the difference between content marketing and inbound marketing. So let's talk about, before we even get into the writing, I'm sorry, I forgot about this slide, the evolution of SEO. Before you freak out, I am not going to bore you with a 30-minute dissertation on the history of SEO, but I will start at the beginning, which was roughly 25 years ago. And I don't know if you've heard this story, and I don't vouch for how true it is, but I've heard that SEO was actually started by, this will date me a bit, but if you remember the band Jefferson Starship from the 70s and the 80s, they kind of had a comeback tour in the 90s, and they hired a company to build them their official band website. And they were out on tour, and their manager one day went to show a promoter this fancy, beautiful site they had built for the band. And they used the search engine to look it up, and wasn't on page 1, wasn't on page 2. He had to go to page 4 before he could show the promoter this website they had built for the band, which, you know, given the money he spent to have the site created, he wasn't very happy about this. He called the company. He's like, what's going on? Why are all these fan sites and like awful looking sites on page 1 and I'm on page 4? And what they ended up doing, or what they realized, is that these other sites used the word Jefferson Starship more than the official site did. And how did they, so what did they do? They went in and they typed Jefferson Starship on every page over and over and over. And then, I don't know how many of you remember this, but I do. They colored the type so that it matched the background of the page and you couldn't see the words. And instantly they shot up to page 1. And that's how that keyword stuffing really began. I remember going to websites in the early days back on the AOL, and if you dragged your mouse across the bottom of the screen, you could see all these hidden words that were the same color of the background. And that's how SEO got kicked off, or so the story goes. I'll actually make the argument that it's a little bit older. I'd say I'd venture to guess that no matter where you're from right now, if you look at a local directory of businesses in your area, you're going to find an A1 auto repair. You're going to find AAA electricians. You're going to find A&A dentists, or any number of businesses that start with that AAA or A1. And these guys, they're not describing like their Better Business Bureau ranking here. There was a reason they named their company that, and that was so that they would end up at the top of the list in their yellow pages, because those were listed alphabetically. I say that's the first use of SEO tactics to get better rankings in a search directory, back when it was just a big, thick book. And that's what we all turned to when we needed to hire a plumber or an electrician or call an auto shop. And that's why you've got so many businesses named that. But anyway, I'm kind of getting away from the point here. I won't give you a history on the evolution of SEO, but what I will tell you is that if you look at it at a very high level, you're going to see some trends. You're going to see that almost every update Google has ever made goes toward three things, really. It's about trust, it's about accuracy, and it's about closing loopholes that previous updates created. So with that in mind, should you really go after low-hanging fruit when new updates come in, or when some provider tells you, hey, we've got this newfangled way to get you to rank well? No, because chances are a future update is going to close that loophole. It's really about the trust and accuracy. It's about providing your audience with what they want when they want it. It's about creating content that addresses a problem and solves that problem, and then putting it where it belongs, so that when your client or your customer, your potential customer, needs it, there it is waiting for them. So I would avoid the short-term gains by trying to play SEO games and figure out Google's algorithm and see how you can beat it, and focus on what Google is focusing on, what they've been focusing on since the beginning, and that is making their results trustworthy to their users and accurate. They are so focused on intent right now. You should be too. What is your audience looking for, and how can I give it to them? Now, I'm not saying that SEO in particular keywords, they are not dead. I'm not saying don't use SEO, but you've got to look at keywords differently. And Jeremy showed us a part of his Inc tool, where, now I don't know how many of you have used Inc, but you put a primary keyword in, and it scrapes the search engines, finds the best ranking articles for that keyword, and it will give you a list like other content optimizer. It gives you this long list of what just looks like keywords. And the thinking is, if you stuff them into the article, you're going to rank well. That's not it. And that's not that. This is why Inc doesn't even call it a keyword list. It's not a semantic keyword list. It's a topical generator. Jeremy, is that right? Did I say that right?
Yeah, it's the topical sidebar.
Right. Topical sidebar. So it looks like a list of keywords, but there's context tied to it. If you click on any of those words, it's going to show you how your competition is using that term. And the goal is to get you to discuss what they're discussing, and then hopefully do it better. Because if you're not talking about what they're talking about, you're not going to rank well. Because Google is feeding these results to their searchers because they feel this satisfies their intent. So if you're not talking at least about the same topics that your competitors are, you can forget about ranking for that keyword. So there's the list. These are the things that your competitors are talking about. Here's context on how they're talking about it. Build that into your article, and also go look for more. What aren't they talking about? Get that in there too. So do it just as well or do it better. So that's where keywords are coming into play now. It's more contextual. It is not about stuffing the keyword in and checking off a box, because Google can read the other words. This is something they weren't able to do before. They can understand more holistically what your article is about. And if you're not using those words correctly in the right context, they're not going to work well for you. Let's move on. I'm sorry, I kind of ramble sometimes. How to write great content and that gets shared organically. All right, so this is random, but yeah, let's talk about it. So how do you get content that's shared? It starts with understanding your audience, right? What does your audience want? Because what works for one company, it's not going to be the same for the next company, but it can be described at a very high level, right? You've all heard time, money, and happiness. If you save people time, you save people money, or you give them some form of happiness, that's shareable content. You know, it's value. Your education pieces, not quite so shareable. And entertainment, which kind of falls under giving them happiness, that's hard to pull off. So the best way for most people to get those organic shares is to save people time and save them money, and to recognize that your audience is selfish. The reason they want to share your content is because it reflects good on that. Let me give you, have you ever, my wife and I, we like to watch TV series before we go to sleep each night. We'll watch a couple episodes, right? So we're always looking for something good that we haven't seen before. And more than once now, we have found a series on some streaming network, and we start watching. It's really good. We get invested in the characters and in the storyline, and we're like, oh, we're loving this. And you come up to the end of a season, and there's this major cliffhanger, right? Like, oh God, you know, where's the, I got to get the next episode, and it's not there. And okay, so maybe the new season isn't out yet. And you go and you look it up and you find out that the show was canceled without resolution, and you are left hanging. You're left on that cliffhanger. Okay. Would you recommend that show to your friends, to your family? Would you tell them, go watch this? Okay. Your audience wants to share things that reflect well on them. They found something that you shared that saved them time, that saved them money, that provided them happiness. They want to share it with their people because it reflects well on them. So you've got to provide real value in your content itself, not a hook, not just a hook. You've got to provide the payoff. You know, if the content you're trying to share requires an action on their part to get to that payoff, you're going to fail. It's not going to get shared as much as you want. Give it away. Tell them what they need. How can I save money? How can I save time? Make me happy, make me laugh. You know, the payoff needs to be in the content itself. And you may be wondering, well, then why am I in business if I'm giving away? And I would argue, hey, unless you're, you know, protecting Colonel Sanders' chicken recipe or the formula for Coke, I mean, you can give away what your service is. They're going to find it out there anyway. You can look online and find out how to do anything. The reason your customers come to you is because you do it better. You do it faster, and or you do it cheaper, or they just don't have time to do it themselves. So if you want content that gets shared organically, you've got to be prepared to give that value up. Provide the hook, the line, the sinker, the whole kit and caboodle right in that content. Save them time, save them money, make them happy, and put it out there. Require nothing back from them. That's how you get content that gets shared. I can't get into the logistics about how to run your social media and get those shares, because that's not my area of expertise. But on the content, that will get it done for you. All right. So what type of content performs best today? It's no one piece. There's no one content type. It's not necessarily blog posts or thought leadership. Category pages, service pages, local SEO pages, product pages. They all play their own role in your overarching, drawing a blank, inbound marketing strategy. Sorry, guys. Each one it's a cog in that inbound marketing machine. You know, so it's about making sure that all of your content aligns with that strategy. That's the best kind of content right now. That's what performs well today, is having that really strong inbound marketing strategy and then creating the content that aligns perfectly with it. That content should be designed to satisfy your audience's need, not yours. You know, if you do it right, it will ultimately satisfy your need, but craft it in a way that satisfies theirs. I already went over this a bit, but content that's as good as, if not better than, what's already out there. I am fully encouraging you to go and see what's ranking well for whatever you're targeting and see what are they doing, and even better, what aren't they doing? How can I make something that's just as good and then push that needle a little bit farther so that it provides more value to the readers than what's currently ranking? And last, content that's optimized and follows industry best practices. I will give a shameless plug to Jeremy's product. I've used it personally. My content managers have all used it, and a significant portion of our writers at Crowd Content have used it. And you know how I know it's a good product? Is when I tell them that we're going to use ink on this project, they roll their eyes a little bit because it's that thorough. Some of the other ones are easier to get through the steps of what they need to do and get that content out the door. But ink is very thorough. It's all about it. It's like the emotional part that he went over. It's looking at the grammar. It's looking at structure. It's looking at best practices as far as how many words are between each subheader. It's bringing up all the topical suggestions, giving context and telling it, like, it's super thorough. Use whichever one you like. Personally, I like ink, but either way, optimize your content. These tools are out there for a reason. They work well. And then, of course, follow industry best practices as far as high quality writing, digestible bits. You guys know all this. Make sure you're using H2s and bullets to break things up. Provide that hook, line, sinker section of each article. Use your primary keywords correctly. Is it in your title tag? Is it in your URL slug? Is it in your alt text? Is it in your opening paragraph in an H2? All of those things, the industry best practices that any freelance writer, in-house writer, or content provider knows about. Let's move forward. All right, this is it. I'm just about done, so I really appreciate you guys sticking with me. I know we're running a little bit long. Some of you may be wondering, how can you scale your content production? All right, I'm sold. I love inbound marketing. I have worked out my content strategy, and I need to scale up, and that may mean producing 10 pieces per month. It could mean 100, it could mean 1,000. And for the most part, you got three choices here. You could go in-house, have your writer and editor right there with you. The pros to that: complete total control over content production. I mean, you can literally stand over their shoulder as they're working and guide them toward what it is you want them to do. You can give them that face-to-face feedback in real time. Those are big pros. They really are. But the cons here, look at this. It's the most expensive option. If you've got in-house writers and editors, you're paying them all the time, whether you've got the work for them to do or not. You've got a very limited recruiting pool. I can tell you from personal experience, it is super hard to find high quality writers. We have a full-time person at Crown Content whose sole purpose is to recruit good writers for us and to develop the writers that we have who are good into great writers. Like, it's really hard. We accept, I think, less than 5% of applicants. And of the 5% we accept, maybe 10% at best become our top tier writers, our highest level. Like, they're few and far between. It's obviously very difficult to scale at high volumes with in-house writers. It's a major drain on your time, and it's the least flexible option. And by least flexible, I mean, just because you have a writer who is good at creating, say, blog posts, doesn't mean that they can write a category page at all. Writers have their specialties. Some are generalists, they're good at general informational type copy. They can't write marketing copy. Others are good at marketing copy, but they can't write a blog post. So if you're hiring in-house, you may find yourself stuck with a writer who's got a very narrow skill set. And then you've got to go find another writer, another two writers to be able to handle the other stuff that you need. So your second option is to work with freelancers. Another great option. It is more affordable for the most part than having in-house. You do get more flexibility because you can pick people to do your marketing copy and pick this one. These guys are going to handle the general copy. And you're only paying for what they produce. So you have that flexibility to pivot to different content types. You now have a global recruiting pool instead of your local hiring area. And it's certainly more scalable. You need to produce more content, hire more freelancers. Well, let's look at the cons here. It's very difficult to manage freelancers. I can personally attest to that, and my team of content managers can also attest to that. They're all over the place. They have different work schedules. Some work at night, some work in the day, some work on weekends. They're spread across the globe. They have different methods of working. Unless you have your own writing platform, you're sending documents and receiving documents back and forth to all sorts of different people, to editors, to writers, getting revisions done. It's a real challenge to get just feedback out that needs to apply to your whole team. Just getting that out there is challenging. The vetting process is challenging. Unless you personally know how to write or vet a good writer, it's difficult to do. It's hard to tell. Most of us can tell the difference between, well, this is bad copy and this is good copy. But can you tell the difference between decent copy, good copy, very good copy, and excellent copy? Do you know what's good marketing copy versus what's good general copy? If you do, great. You're well equipped to go out there and vet them, but it's a time-consuming process. So put those two things together, just the management and the vetting of freelancers. Unless you want to dedicate a significant part of your time toward running this, you're going to be in trouble. So what's the third option? Content providers, companies like Crowd Content. The pros, we're affordable. We have different programs to fit different budgets. We're flexible. We've got thousands of writers who can write in different tones and different styles. We do all the vetting, and only writers and editors who have been vetted are allowed to work on projects. We have proven processes that vary depending on your project. It could be, writer to editor to QA. It could be writer to subject matter expert to an editor, then to QA, and then to a VA to do the publishing end of it. We've got proven processes that work. We've helped tons of companies scale up and put workflows in place that work for them. You get a single point of contact, which is one of the biggest but most underrated benefits to working with a content provider, is that you get one person to speak with, and you get a content manager who speaks your language. They know content, they know SEO, they know writing, they know editing. When you give feedback, they understand what you're saying, and they can go and they disseminate that feedback through their team. They're the one who get all the word out there, make sure it gets done. The amount of time saved on your end, the amount of frustration, like, that's value right there. And it is, of course, the most scalable option because we can scale up. Most content providers, well, not most, some are better than others, but we can scale to whatever it is you need. If you're doing 100 pieces a month and you want to go up to 500, no problem, we can do that. The cons, yeah, you're gonna end up with too much time on your hands, but that one's a joke. But the bottom one, this one's serious, and I put it under con because I just want to throw this out there. If you're considering going with a content provider to execute on your plan, input equals output here. Some of our clients literally just hand us a title, or here's a whole list. I need 30 articles this month. Here's 30 titles, go at it. And they're basically giving their freelance or the writer creative license to take these in whatever direction they want. They're not providing us with audience, the purpose of the company. Like, what are you trying to accomplish with this? So if you go this route, definitely work with your content manager. Have a working session where you go through and we talk about the purpose of your content, what you're trying to accomplish with it. What's your voice? How do you want to go about doing this? This kind of plays into the next slide. My last one, by the way. So again, sorry, I'm running a little long, but do have that strategy and do give direction. Sit down with your point of contact at the content provider and give them that direction. Any good content manager will ask you for it. What are you trying to accomplish? Who are you speaking to? And how is this content type supposed to accomplish that? They want to know this information so that they can give it to the writers and editors and get that alignment across all of them. Have you ever gotten content back from 10 different freelancers who aren't connected in any way? And they're all say blog post, you're going to get 10 different voices, 10 different styles. No consistency whatsoever, but that's what this working session accomplishes. It gets that consistency. So use order briefs, use your working sessions, but do put in the effort to ensure that what you're getting back aligns with the strategy that you and your team have come up with. I've got give the right feedback on here. I won't spend too much time on this. It's kind of a personal pet peeve, but when you're working at scale, and it's time to give feedback to your freelancers, to your in-house team, to your provider, you got to give the right feedback. Avoid the okay, great. So you'd rather use this adverb than this one. That's wonderful. By all means, make that change. but it's not useful feedback to your content production team because it's not applicable at a high level. What the feedback they need is when you see something and you say, okay, the writer kind of used a scare tactic here. That doesn't work for our brand. We want to put a positive spin on this. That's feedback that applies at a high level across all the orders. That's the important stuff. We think that CTAs are too strong. Let's dial it back a little bit. We're not happy with how you're linking internally. We don't want to focus on other blogs. We want to link to our service pages. That's the kind of feedback you want to get. Save the stylistic stuff, a little minor change, make them, go for it. Make them publish your content. But if you're focusing your feedback with your content team on that more granular stylistic stuff, it's not helpful for them. Last but not, I don't even need to cover this because I think we've already beaten this one in, but do optimize your content. It truly works.